Well, you get into politics, you're used to taking all the slings and the arrows, but usually it comes from your political opponents. In this case, it comes from inside the party sometimes. And as far as I'm concerned, when it comes to the Missouri GOP, or in this case, the Kansas GOP, everybody should be swimming in the same direction and trying to achieve the same goals. And we welcome on, and we'll start the conversation there with Mike Brown. He is the Kansas GOP chairman. He joins us on KCMO. There's a lot of things happening. There's this 1776 club I want to tell you guys about. But first off, for those of you that don't know, Mike has been the chairman since earlier this year. So he's 6, 7, 8 month mark or so. And there's just, he won a very close race to be the GOP chairman in Kansas. And unfortunately, there's been a lot of back and forth and infighting since his time at chairman. But I wanted to welcome him on, hopefully, allow things to settle down on this front and move into 2024 with everybody kind of moving towards the same goal. So, Mike, great to have you on as always. Good morning. Thanks for joining us. And just give us a state of the state, I guess you would say, of the party right now and where you feel it is under your leadership.
Well, good morning, Pete, and it's good to be with you and to be on your show again. And thank you for having me. I have been the Kansas Republican Party chairman since early February this year. We have systematically and methodically, we've rebuilt the Kansas Republican Party. We have completely reset the machine, and it functions today like a business. And it needed many of these updates. Many of these updates were long overdue. So some of the things that from an outward-facing side that can be seen are a brand new website that is user-friendly. It's quick, it's fast, it's thorough. We've got the 1776 Club, as you had mentioned in your intro. That's a club, $17.76 a month that you can join. You get a card the first month. Looks like a credit card, but you become an official card-carrying member of the Kansas Republican Party and of the 1776 Club. It's a recurring donation. We are well over 100 of those so far. Our goal is, well over 500 before we're all done. But it's not the only thing that we're working on. So the other things from an outward-facing side that folks can see, and I would like to point them to in case they haven't, is our local elections this year. People get very caught up in that the Kansas GOP is focused on just national elections or the federal delegation, and that is not at all true. We are a very local focused this year in 2023. We recruited hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of candidates across Kansas, in excess of 350, actually very close to 400 Republican candidates and they all ran this past August. In some of those races, the Democrat got bounced. There are only 2 Republicans left in the race, so a Republican is going to win that seat. And in a couple of those instances, Pete, that we're talking about the first time a Republican has sat at that dais where Republican ideas, conservatism has been in the conversation at that school board or at that city council from that seat in over 2 decades. I'm very, very proud of the hard work that our Kansas Republican Party has done and continues to do. We have important general elections coming up in early November. Voter turnout is going to be key. Yeah. So you got to go vote. You can't just focus on those big elections and just focus on the presidential or Congress or Senate. These local elections are where the Kansas Republican Party right now plants its seeds for conservatism and republicanism in America for a decade from now. This is where we plant those seeds, and those folks will move up the chain of command. Who knows? But in that group of candidates, perhaps there is a conservative Republican governor someday. Maybe there is a conservative Republican president or senator or congressman or county commissioner. Who knows? I have no idea, but I know this. If we don't put Republicans in those seats and put them on that platform, we'll never find out, and we can't afford to take that chance. Another issue, another thing that is outward facing that is really loved, I mean, boy, people have really embraced this, is what's called our Friday File email. At 4 o'clock p.m. on every Friday, since I've been the chairman, a communication goes out with I go get a a guest columnist of some importance relative to whatever's going on in that moment and give them 300 or 400 words to write. This week, the Friday File today that comes out at 4 o'clock will be about the Kansas State Fair. And it is a former board member and somebody who truly has a passion for the Kansas State Fair wrote this leading in. The weeks just leading in the past, last week and the week before, were two of the presidential campaigns wrote the Friday File guest column. It is also a communication tool that when it goes out, Pete, on Friday afternoon at 4, it goes out to over 35,000 Kansans get this email. And these are folks that have asked for it. Mm-hmm. This Friday File email has made such an impact that if there is a slowdown, sometimes just the way the web works, and there is a slowdown by 4:15 or 4:20, if people aren't getting the Friday File, I'm starting to get emails and text messages asking, where is it at? I mean, it's becoming people look forward to it and want it. You can sign up for it. Anybody, both the 1776 Club and the Friday File, anybody who's listening can go to kansas.gop, kansas.gop, and sign up. Get on it's free. If you decide you don't like it, you can always unsubscribe and take yourself off of the newsletter later. But come join us in our 1776 Club, and come join us on the Friday File. I think most, if not all, of your listeners would enjoy looking it over and perusing through it each Friday.
That is at kansas.gop. You can find it there. Now, Mike, what would you say to folks, when it comes to, you're right, some of these local elections, and the only time I've really kind of brought up what's going on with the state party in the last few weeks, and you and I have spoken about it since privately, is wondering what your role is or what it will be with these local elections coming up here in November. I know you're enthusiastic about them. Are you working with the county parties, especially in Johnson County, which has been a tough slog for the party at large? Are you leaving that in the hands of the county party? What's your role in that going to be?
So our role in that, first of all, it was up to the very much the way that I and we as the Republican Party see it is up to the candidates to make themselves available and decide they want to run. It is up then for them to get to the county party and ask for the assistance of the Republican Party. That is the on-ramp into the Kansas Republican Party. Our job with local elections has been to be supportive, to assist and guide them in some of their fundraising activities, and also to make sure that they have a resource to go to. All of these candidates have my phone number, and many of them call asking for guidance on campaigns. I've been down this road. Our executive director, Dakota Partial, has been down elections roads many times, and we have a vast resource. The other thing we have is we provide the data in the form of a platform called Numinar. It is a data management system that we provide. We pay for it as the Kansas Republican Party, but we provide it for free to every Republican local candidate running. They have full access. What that gets them access to is the Republican National Committee Data Trust. Now, that's a really fancy way of saying it's the repository. It's where all the data is kept. It's where voter files and records and propensities and your frequency as a voter are all maintained by the RNC. Numinar is the data management system that goes and fetches that data and puts it into an easy-to-use format that makes it simple for the candidate to create phone call lists, walk lists, fundraising lists. There's some modeling component in it, okay, and we're providing it all for free. So that's the role of the state party in this. And gotcha. Again, I see it. That's the nuts and bolts. But from the higher 30,000-foot view, it is about planting our seeds for a decade from now or 20 years from now. This is where many people who currently serve in Congress or serve as governors or where in higher office, this is where they started.
What about, Mike, as we put a bow in the conversation, just going into next year, monetarily speaking, I mean, the 1776 Club seems like a pretty cool idea to get grassroots folks involved. If there's been criticism inside the party of your tenure, which obviously is only a few months old, it's been fundraising issues. How would you alleviate any of those concerns that may be out there, and how do you perceive the next 15 months going on that front?
Great question, and thank you for asking it. Here's where we are. Fundraising has been hurt in with the big donors by some people within our own Kansas Republican Party. The one thing I will say, and it's not an excuse, but it's a reason, is that state parties across America, Pete, are dealing with this exact same thing. This is occurring in Nebraska and in Oklahoma and in Delaware. And you fill in the blank, it's almost every single state. For some reason, for some Republicans, it's more important to see Mike Brown fail than it is to win elections. And I will tell you, that is the antithesis of who I am. It is the opposite of how I would be conducting myself if I had not won the chairmanship. It's inexcusable, but the fact is that they have impacted it. The good news is money is coming in. We have inroads now with some very large donors that we are working closely with and are expecting that to bear fruit very soon. And it's going to be very, very good for us. The fact is we need to raise, based just on our budget alone for the KSGOP this year, we need to raise about $300,000. And the great part about that is that I went ahead and closed our Topeka office, which was costing us over $5,000 a month. We've closed that, shuttered it. It is gone. Everything's in storage. We're running our office virtually because if there is anything that came out of COVID that was any good at all, is that we figured out how to do, by and large, how to work from home. And right now, emails get returned, phone calls get answered, messages get returned, people are getting communication. We are better than we used to be, and we're doing it for $60,000+ a year less, which is money that is going to go to electing Kansas Republicans.
Well, Mike Brown, the Kansas GOP chairman since early February, we appreciate you being on the show. I know it's kind of the calm before the storm, so to speak, and I'm sure we'll be talking plenty as things get heating up here pretty soon.
Absolutely. I look forward to it. Thanks for having me. It was good to be with all of you, and please have me back.
All right, we will do that. Absolutely. Mike Brown, great to have him on KCMO, kansas.gop.